I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for being here. I'm excited. I think I have a lot of really great new information to share with you. Um, while going through the presentation, it would be easiest for me if you could hold all your questions to the end. We've got about 30 minutes of Q&A time, so we'll have plenty of time to get your questions in. And if my audio cuts out for you or you're having any issues while I'm speaking, please go into the chat and message Lisa. She's under Tanya Hertz's account right now, so you can just send a message to Tanya Hertz and ask for any assistance you might need while the presentation is going on. Okay, let's see if we can get started. All right. Okay, not on the beginning. Okay, so this is building a virtual business, and the core of this presentation is going to be focused on transitioning or starting an existing business fully and totally virtually. So we're going to try to be paperless. We're going to try to be locationless. We're going to try to find ways in which we can be contactless and pretty much virtualize every single operation that you currently do in your business. And to help you guys get some structure around that, I'm going to kind of cover some of the traditional business operations that we do and show you how you can take what you already know about building a business and transform that into a virtual business. I'd like to start this by sharing something with you that I think is the key to building a successful virtual business, and that is accepting that this is an eventuality. And by moving on this eventuality now, you have a massive advantage over everyone else who's currently watching the news and wondering whether or not they're going to be able to start their business up again. One expert says it's going to be 2024 before we can go out in public again. Somebody else says it's going to be 2 weeks and we're going to be starting right back up. So it can be very challenging to understand what exactly is going to happen with physical businesses. But what you can be certain of is that more and more people are moving online every single day. This is a new path, but it's not an uncut path. So there are those who have blazed this trail before you, and they're here to offer you support. You won't be doing it alone if you choose to follow us down this road. And know that as you go down it, you are traveling a road that everyone will eventually need to travel. And by making this commitment now, you're saving yourself a ton of time, and you're giving yourself a massive advantage over everyone else who's kind of waiting on the shore saying, should I, shouldn't I? Another thing that moving online or becoming virtual does for you is it allows you to become in control of your destiny. Rather than waiting around for some person on the news to tell you whether or not it's okay to start your physical business again, you can stop reacting to that crisis and you can start seizing the opportunity for the future of your business that you have right here. I'm going to give you everything that you need in order to move into the online space. And by seizing that now, you are the master of your destiny. If you were hanging on and waiting, trying to figure out if your physical business can still open or the idea that you had for a physical business is still viable, you are waiting for someone else to decide your future. But by taking the step now to put in place everything we're going to talk about, you will be in control of your future. And the only thing that you're really going to need out of this is this next piece here, which is that it's totally up to you to accept that there is no going back. Once you do this, I need you to commit to doing it. Because if you decide to do it halfway, it will literally be as though you're trying to set sail for the new world and you keep coming back to the old one. You will never make the journey if you hang on to all of the things a physical business needs. It will be impossible for you to create the new patterns, the new behaviors, the new habits that are necessary for you to succeed in such a new endeavor. You're going to need to commit 100% to this. And it's not just for you that you need to commit. You really need to commit for your team, for your customers, for your partners. It's them that need you to do the leading, because they're going to resist you, because they're not here today. They're not open to the idea of building a virtual business, which means when you start pitching them all these new technologies and these new processes, you're going to hit wall after wall after wall. And if you aren't 100% committed to this idea, they are going to drag you back to shore, and you're never going to reach the new world. So I need you guys to understand that your job primarily here is to get the mindset that you are not turning back from this, and it is your job to overcome their obstacles, their barriers that you put in the way. Everything else that I say is something that you can find for yourself on the internet, or you can teach yourself free of charge. This information is everywhere, based on the experiences of hundreds of other people that have already gone down this road. I'm just sharing what has worked for me in my experiences, and what I hope will work for you. To give you guys a little incentive around making this leap, because I know it can be scary, I want to talk to you a bit about the trends, and to share with you here what you can see is that it's actually increasing. Regardless of the pandemic and the crisis that's happening now, this is the shift that's occurring around the world no matter what. So people are going this way anyways. Right now you can see that 44% of growth happened in just the last 5 years. So we're accelerating that trend as well, which means that everyone who's going to say no to you after this meeting is over, after this presentation is over, all your partners who say, we don't want to go online, all your customers who say, well, I don't want to do a virtual meeting, everyone is going to be going virtual. So eventually they will be joining you as well. So if you're worried about being too early for the market, you can see that the market is coming, and it was coming regardless of this recent pandemic, and it's only going to accelerate now because of what's happening. So you won't be alone out there. There will be customers, there will be partners, there will be tools available to support you. I'd also like you guys to know that 80% of remote workers experience less job stress, and that's good for two reasons. The first being that you, as an employee of your own business, as an entrepreneur, can find ways to de-stress, which I know everyone who's starting their own business needs that probably more than anything else. It's finding ways to decrease our stress levels and feel more in control of what's happening to our business. But it's also important for anyone who's trying to scale their business. If you're looking at employing people and you're asking, how do we become competitive, especially as someone who's just getting started and may not be able to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary? What can you offer to people that's different, that's innovative, that's new? And working from home has proven to be an extremely reliable benefit that people time and time again report increases happiness and decreases their levels of stress. So you'll be doing yourself a huge favor personally by decreasing your stress when you go online, but you'll also be doing your employees a great favor and your business a great favor by offering this benefit to people. And lastly, it pays more. The time that you're sitting in your car in traffic, you could be making money. While they're having that conference call that you don't need to be at, you can be making money. While you're waiting for everyone to get together after lunch or a birthday or some other office related activity, you can be making money. These jobs have shown time and time again to be far more efficient, which leaves the entrepreneurial minded individual a lot of freedom and a lot of growth opportunity. The reason that the office still exists is not because it's more profitable, it's because it is more comfortable. There's a large majority of individuals who are used to doing business a certain way, and that change is too expensive for most of organizations. They're just waiting for the next generation to roll in who are more comfortable with this idea, and then they'll make the change. But for those of you individuals who are ready, who are willing to take the risk and make the jump, there's a lot more profit to be made online. So as we go through this, I'm going to say a lot of new things for some of you. Many of you have already begun down this road and you'll recognize a lot of what I say. And for everybody who's kind of working virtually already, what I want you to take away from this is the structure that I'm going to lay out. How do the pieces connect to each other? Which tools fit with which other tools in relation to the whole, rather than focusing on, is this tool better than that tool? Or, I don't agree with that technique. Just look at the entire picture that I'm going to present to you, because you may be familiar with some of the tools already and have your own tool, which is totally fine. There's a lot of different tools out there. better or worse for some businesses. For those of you that are brand new to this, I wanted to let you know and assure you that the game that we're playing here is the same. The rules are the same, and many of the pieces are the same. You're still going to have offices, you're going to still have teams, meetings, there's a marketplace still, you'll still need to do sales. Many of your core business functions remain the same. The only thing that's really going to change is the language around it. Are we going into the meeting room, or are we going to do a Zoom? It's just like that, and with those small word changes come small discrepancies and understandings. The minutia of how we communicate with each other is going to cause the breakdown that's going to slow down progress at first, but then you'll see it pick back up later. So I just want you to be assured that the way that I've structured this is so you can see how similar it's actually going to be to a traditional business. And we're going to start by looking at the individual, the soul, the one, you. As a person, how do you work virtually? Then we'll scale to your team, and we'll say, how do you as a 10 or 20 or 50 person team organize around work in a virtual space? Then we'll talk about meeting, how do we get together all at the same time so that we can share those ideas and be present with each other? How do we bring those ideas and those services, those products to the marketplace? And then lastly, how do we make sales? Quickly to overview, I want to compare and contrast the difference between a traditional physical brick and mortar business with a virtual business. And I'd like you guys to note here that a virtual business will decrease significantly in stability, but it will increase in flexibility and personalization. So what you'll need to get comfortable with is the unknown. As entrepreneurs, this isn't too difficult for you, but it might be strange to consider your working environment as something that can become so much more adaptable and flexible. The idea that you have a set place where you sit down with your coffee and you put your headphones in and you got all your things around you, and that's the space in which you are comfortable working, and that's how you do your work, that process, that procedure, that needs to become much more flexible for you if you're going to take advantage of a virtual business. Not to say you can't continue to have one single station in which you work, but if you really want to embrace the virtual working lifestyle, you have to lean into the flexibility and the personalization that can come. So what I mean there is, don't just have one space that you work, but learn to work anywhere pretty much. This quick chart here is to help you guys understand what's going to happen for everybody as we go through this process. So we're starting here all the way on the far left side of this curve. We're right where the blue solid line meets the blue dotted line at the beginning there. And I'm trying to convince you that if you follow me down into this dip where we will lose productivity, I wouldn't lie to you and say that we're just going to pick this up and hit the ground running and everything's going to be fine. If you're in the middle of a brick and mortar business, you are going to lose productivity. If you're in the middle of starting a business that relied on physical spaces, you are going to lose productivity. But if you follow the tips that I present here, continue to learn on your own, stay close with everyone in this group, network, learn from each other, you'll see that quickly we're going to follow this curve all the way back up. And once you've mastered these techniques, these new behaviors and habits, you'll far outperform what you would have in your traditional brick and mortar business. Okay, so talking about bare necessities. On the left here, you see don't need. I want you to understand that these are all the things that you no longer need at all, And I can already feel maybe some of you saying, well, I mean, I would probably still need that. And the important part here is that you recognize that you can get rid of all of this. And I'm really suggesting that you do it, that you unload, because it is weighing you down. And take printers, for example. You say, well, it might be a good idea to have a printer. And you're right, it might be a good idea to have a printer if we were speaking purely practically. But what this is more about is, again, that mindset shift. I want you to get used to not having it. What do I do if I don't have it? force yourself into the position of not having it. And you'll find over here on the right side in the needs at the bottom, I put access to printing services. What you want to do is you want to get to the part where you're completely paperless. You really never, ever, ever want to see another piece of paper again in your life. Your goal needs to be to get away from paper. And I understand that not everyone's goal is going to be that. And in my personal experience, having worked online for the last 3, maybe 4 years, there is no way that you're going to be able to be 100% paperless, but you can get 99% of the way there. And if you keep your printer around, you're only going to get 60 or 70% of the way there, because it'll be easier to just print. Once you switch to a printing service, it's more of a hassle to go out and get the printer. So then you become creative and you say, well, okay, I don't want to go all the way to the printer. How could I do this paperlessly? And you will solve your problem again and again and again in a digital way, which will enable you to continue to move more virtually. Keeping these things around is enabling your bad habit of being in a physical space with your business. So on the right side, I want you to focus on the needs, because I put a lot of thought into what you actually need at a very bare minimum in order to run this virtual business. First of all, you're going to need a power source. Second of all, a laptop and a smartphone. And I recommend you have both for a specific reason. You're going to need a connection to the internet. You're going to need a virtual office, not at first, but eventually. I really think this would be valuable for you. And then access to printing services. So the first 3 are fairly self-explanatory, aside from maybe the smartphone. I can feel maybe a couple of you arguing, well, if I have a laptop, why do I need a smartphone? But I think that the smartphone can be very valuable because it can provide you with a wireless and mobile internet connection. It's also a great way to communicate with your clients very quickly, and you don't always have your laptop on you, whereas the phone is almost on you all the time. So having both of these is very valuable. This virtual office down here, I'm going to take you guys on a quick trip over to their website. And you can see what I'm talking about. A virtual office is the ability to pretty much just rent a desk at a very professional, upscale looking office. Regis is an example of something that I've used before. And what you can do is, let's say that you want to have a presence in a upscale area of any kind of a city. Once you belong to a Regis or a WeWork or something like that, for a very small fee of around like $100, maybe even less, maybe closer to like $40 a month, you'll get the desk when you need it, along with a number of other services. So let's say you need someone to answer your phones. Let's say you do need those printing services. Let's say you do need somewhere to receive physical mail. If let's say you do need some place to meet with clients in the physical, you're transitioning to virtual and that's your goal. But for now, you still have clients that want to meet one-on-one. And, you know, we know right now the lockdown is preventing a lot of people from meeting one-on-one, but when that lifts, people are going to want to go back to that way of life, percentage of them anyways. And as you're trying to make your way into a virtual space, it's going to be challenging for you to meet their needs, you know, because you don't want to lose clients just because you're moving in that direction. So having a virtual virtual office like this enables you to appear to have a fully stocked, fully staffed office space. But in reality, you know, you just have a desk when you absolutely need it, a place to forward mail. So I definitely recommend that you guys check out this website after and take a look at all of their office services and their locations. And you can see how they can provide that as needed office space for you. The last link that I have down here is access to printing services. And that's just a copy of a link to local FedEx. So you guys know they're still open and they are still offering printing services. So if you have that printer, I'm recommending that you do remove it and start relying on these when you absolutely need to. Okay, here's a quick look at what a virtual office can look like at its very barest minimum. You don't have an office in your house, but you do have a laptop and you need power and you need Wi-Fi. So you go in your car and you sit down with your laptop. Now you have your very own private air-conditioned space with power and Wi-Fi to work from home. at its maybe most luxurious, here's an idea of what people have already done and how far out there they've already gotten. People have redesigned the interiors of vans to be livable, and then they work inside of them. So this person here is enjoying a sunset view as they edit a video. And so you can start to see the power of this flexibility in office location if you are able to run lightly, if you only have a need for such a small amount of equipment that it fits in a vehicle. I know the beaches in San Diego are closed right now, but eventually those will reopen, probably sooner than some of the businesses. So you can start to already see yourself answering client emails or editing videos rather than sitting in a dark office space that costs you $1,000 a month. It can be right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so moving into a virtual team, I want to start with hiring. How do you find talent? Most of us reach into our local personal networks first if you know somebody. But if you're looking for talent, I would highly recommend this site here, Upworks. To give you an idea of how that works, I come in here, and I can post a job and find a freelancer. So I'd say I need a marketing video, and it'll give me a quick search for finding freelancers. I choose from the ones that I want. What I recommend you do here is find a way to turn your projects into small bite-sized pieces at first, because these sites can be hit or miss despite the number of reviews that they have, or even despite the price that they're offering. I've found people who are far more reliable at a very low price point with no reviews than sometimes people at a high price point with a number of reviews. And really the only way to know if you're going to work together well is to work together. So it behooves you to find a way to turn some of your projects that are larger into small bite-sized chunks, and then farm out that work to someone who's not charging too much. And you can find out if you work well with them together as a one-off. If you don't, well, you get your work back, okay, and then you can end that business relationship. But if it works well, a one-time project can slowly but surely turn into a full-time team member. And so you can go on right now and look at your business and say, I need help with finance, I need help with marketing, I need help with operations, I need help acquiring clients, and go in and post jobs for that, hire 3 or 4 people and tell them to do small pieces of that and see what comes back. And you might get 2 or 3 really talented full-time employees out of that. And in just 6 months, you can build your team from 1 to 20 of people around the world who are basically doing the same thing as you, and may even actually already have more experience at this than you do. So that's a great way to build your team, is by hiring freelancers first and slowly turning them into full-time employees. The next thing we want to look at here is communicating. I'm talking primarily at this point in time about what I call asynchronous communication. And that means that we're not communicating at the same time. So an email is an asynchronous communication because I write an email and I send it, and maybe 10 minutes or 2 hours or 10 hours later, you read it. Then you write me back when you feel like it. Slack can be the same way. It's great because some people can be on at the same time, but for the most part, I would consider it asynchronous because you're not demanding an immediate answer. And so communicating asynchronously, these are the tools I highly recommend. Email is for more serious, I guess. I would send contracts over emails, things that you want a proven record of, and any kind of external communication. So if you're communicating with clients, email can be great. Slack is for teams internally. You can use it to promote a little bit, kind of like we do with the rec. So we invite a lot of people because we are a community business. Our business is about building community. So we invited people to see inside what we're doing. But for the most part, I would recommend Slack as an internal tool. And I would recommend that you get either Slack, or if you use Microsoft Teams, and Facebook is trying out a new one, Facebook Workplace. Those are the 3. Slack was the original, and it was so good that Microsoft and Facebook have copied it. So it should tell you that these, multi-billion-dollar companies are copying this because it works. It's very powerful. Anybody in the rec who's been using Slack, I hope you've enjoyed it so far as a new way to communicate with each other. And I'll can go more into depth in that later, but for now, it's a tool that I would recommend. Lastly, I have Loom on the list here, so I want to show you that really quickly. Loom lives in a Chrome browser, and it works just like this. I click this little at the top here, and here, if you guys can see on my screen, this little button pops up, and I can record with my screen and my camera. Oh, darn, I'm still denying myself access. Or I can just do a current tab. And once I hit start recording, I'll record whatever's on screen. And I really recommend using that tool because it allows you to turn what would be a very long email or a very long Slack message filled with lots of specific directions about, click on file, then click on download, then click on whatever. You don't have to do that anymore. Now you just turn the camera on yourself and onto your webpage and say, hey, freelancer number 7, I really need help putting this on my website. Here's what my website looks like, and you have it in the background, and you just through the video show them exactly step by step with your cursor what you want them to do, and say do it just like this every time. And now you have something that's recorded and easily shareable. You can do that also for company-wide messages. Let's say you want to give people a round of applause for the great work they've done this week. It's fantastic for recording yourself and saying, hey, everybody, I just wanted to let you know that our sales are up this week. I'm really proud of our sales team. It's been fantastic seeing so much effort, especially during the crisis. Thank you so much. Big shout out to somebody. And then you post that, and that can live in Slack or email or wherever for people to see and share. And I really recommend that as an asynchronous tool because it puts FaceTime into your business. And as a virtual business, you need as much FaceTime as you can possibly get. You need as much human emotion as you can possibly get to create the culture around which people will continue to gravitate even when you're not online as a leader. For collaboration, online sharing document tool like G Suite is an absolute necessity. I hope most of you have something like that already, or I know Microsoft offers something similar. If your organization doesn't already use Microsoft, I would recommend G Suite because it integrates with a number of these other tools in a way that I can talk about a little more later. Miro is an interesting one that I think most of you might not have checked out yet, so I want to share this with you. So Miro is basically a collaborative whiteboard, and it allows you to create sticky notes and do tables and graphs and charts, create agile workflows, and do your strategic planning. So if you're in the design phase, if you guys do a lot of whiteboarding and brainstorming already, and you rely heavily on that whiteboard, and you say, well, this is great, I have a Google Doc and I have a spreadsheet and I have Slack, but how do I actually just get in a room with people and brainstorm? This is the tool that you're gonna wanna use for that. I've used it before, it works pretty well. Free to begin with. By the way, everything that I'm recommending to you guys, it's mostly free. I'm trying to keep costs as low as possible. So unless I say it costs money, it's free. So I highly recommend you check this one out if you do a lot of whiteboarding. It's a great collaboration tool. And the last one here we have is Trello, which I hope some of you have used already. And this is a way to organize your tasks. It's great for task management, both in the short term and the long term. So you can see here, this is the way it would look if you've never used it before. In the doing column here, a lot of people say this is what we're up to. You assign people, team members to the tasks. You have a name and you have details there. And then when you're done, you just grab the card and you put it over in the done pile. So this is great for workers who are working on an individual task. Let's say you have an artist and they need to create 5 flyers or something like that. So they can just log in when you're not even awake. They might be in the Philippines and you're asleep. They log in and they see you've put 4 more tasks in the doing column. And it says, do this, this, this. They go and they follow your Loom video directions, and then they complete it and they move it over to the done pile. And when you wake up in the morning, there's 4 new flyers, all linked to these done tasks. So not only do you have the flyers, which are great, that's what you want, but you also have a clear record of when the work was assigned and when it got done, who got it done, and that way you can track your productivity and maybe even evaluate some of your employees if that's something that you're interested in doing. Okay. Lastly here, I have culture. What I want to stress to you guys about the team in virtual space is that it fails most often beyond 10 people, because businesses are interested in making a profit, not in creating a culture. If your business is focused on making money, if you as an entrepreneur, as a leader, care about hurrying up and getting cash flow in, that will work to a point. You'll be able to see success by managing directly your subordinates through some of these tools, like I've said. But what you really need is for them to organically decide to participate in the creation of your online virtual culture. And it is much harder to get that to happen than it is in a physical space. The walls literally keep people in. It forces them to talk to each other. They have to get in their car and drive away in order to do something different. And so they stay and they talk and they form friendships and they help each other. And then the work goes on and on and on. In a virtual business, all I have to do is turn away. That's it. And I'm done with you. I'm done with your business. I don't care anymore. And I'm out. So as a leader, your job is going to be beyond, I'd say about 10 people, is to find a way to create a space in Slack, in Loom, in Zoom, on your website, these virtual spaces, even if it's like a Facebook group, you need to create spaces where people are on and they're interacting and they're communicating with one another without you there. That's how you know that you're getting it right, is when you wake up in the morning and there's 25 Slack messages and you had nothing to do with that. They are carrying your vision forward when you are able to create the culture and place that seed. So here's some of the things that I recommend doing for that. Firstly, I need you to create a routine. You have to have the meetings regularly. People need to know when they're needed to show up. And from there, you need to make some of these spaces not about just getting work done, but about having a social life too. A ton of social interaction comes from the workplace, and we're not about to get that anytime soon. So if you can provide social interaction, meaningful interaction for people in a virtual space, you will keep them involved in your idea and your business for a lot longer, which will eventually lead to a lot more profit for you. So you're sharing info, maybe post that article you were reading, something from the news that you saw, funny GIFs and memes. Where there's a really cool tool called jackbox.tv that I love to use with some friends. Oh, I don't want this one. This one here. So this is a great way to create some culture. So you can see, you can do it over Zoom in this video here. You can have people join. Let me see if I can move this. And then once they're in, oops, so I can get it back. Send your link out, and then you wait for people to join. Share your screen. Okay, and then everybody joins in with their cell phone. So this is just a game app, and you can do this with your company on Friday nights. So if you have a game night regularly, this is a way to continue that. Or if you don't do that, this is an easy way to start it. It's very simple. This one does cost a little bit of money, but I think, again, it's worth it. It has a ton of games, and you just need a smartphone and access to the internet and a computer screen to play. So you'll see, everybody there is busy drawing on their phone. They're all connected, and that's your team working together. Okay. Oops, this music's gonna keep playing, isn't it? No. All right. Okay. The virtual meeting. I broke this down into 4 groups for you guys because I think the number of people is a primary separator for how you communicate synchronously all at the same time. One-on-one meetings are usually between you and one other employee or a partner or a client. And those can happen wherever you're comfortable. Slack has video, Zoom, Facebook Messenger, you can call through there, Skype and FaceTime. All of those are fine. Whatever is working best for you or your client feels comfortable with. Sometimes clients, they want to do Facebook Messenger because that's what's easier. They ask you, do I have FaceTime? That's fine. No need to force people into a box for a one-on-one. I will say, I think keeping your tools to a minimum is one of the best things you can do. So if you're using Slack already, if you're using Zoom for something else already, I always try to double up and just use the tool to its maximum capacity rather than getting a new tool, which requires a little bit of new learning, new logons, all that. But any one of these will do for a one-on-one. A 1 to 10 is something I would do again on Zoom because it's enough that I can see all of the faces and people can have an organic conversation without too much stopping and too much starting. And people seem to be able to regulate themselves fairly well in most of the online meetings that I've participated in where it's under 10. Once you get above 10, it's pretty much the same. It's a webinar. Like what we're doing here now is a webinar, in my opinion. And those come with some specific rules and tools that I would suggest you take advantage of. When you do webinars, everything that's happening there is a marketing material for you. So what I'm doing now, this should be a advertisement for my business if I were doing this full time. And you want to take advantage of all these tools. So Zoom, I believe, allows you to connect to Facebook and YouTube Live. And when you're advertising yourself and marketing yourself on the internet, you really want to get out as far as you possibly can. So just having a simple Zoom meeting for something like this, in my opinion, isn't the greatest way to manage the attendees. So you can get personal information about attendees by using the Zoom webinar software specifically, or Facebook Live. And you can also distribute that message to a much wider group of people, both live and then recorded for people to watch later. So when you're thinking about your virtual meeting, you really want to consider your size. And if it's over 10 people and it doesn't contain sensitive information or internal only information, really consider whether you can turn that into a marketing video. If that's something that you can share out, even if it is internal, a how we work as an online company video showing the jokes and the laughs and people participating, the huge number of people you've brought together in a virtual space. These are all ways to promote your ethos, your identity as a business, and it will attract people to it. So over 10, think about trying to turn it into a webinar. And then there's many to many. And I'm going to show you guys a new tool called Verbella. And this is when you basically have groups of people, 5 groups of 4 or something like that, where everybody is talking in their own group. And if one person were to be talking the entire time, small groups couldn't break up. If you're in a classroom and you want to have a couple of discussions going on. So this tool is freely available. You can download it onto your laptop. And I'm going to play this video. Hopefully it plays without any interruptions. And I recorded this one on Loom just to give you guys an idea of how this can work for your business. And in it, you're going to see a couple of big windows at the front here. This is where you can put up information like a slide deck. And then you have these little tables here with these cute little animated looking people. And each one of those animated people is a real person from somewhere around the world. So kind of like a video game, you get your avatar, you create this person, you give them a specific hair color and clothing choice, and then you get to name them and move them around using the arrow keys on your keyboard, and you can navigate them into these spaces where you see these tables. And each one of those blue rings around those tables is actually called a cone of silence. So if you look above the people's heads, you'll see those white little bubbles. Everyone is in the middle of having an intense conversation about the sticky note that's on their table. So you have, I don't know, let's say it's 20 people, groups of 5, and they're all having these interesting conversations by themselves, and then they can come together as a group later. So a tool like this enables you to have pretty much, a physical office culture without the cost of rent, without the overhead that comes with the electricity or insurance or anything like that, but you can still do a lot of the communicating that you do. Plus you get cool things like this little announcement, hey guys, about 30 more seconds, so you can speak to everyone directly, but they can be in their own little bubble having conversations. So that's what I would call a many to many type of conversation. So if you have a school, if your business relies on teaching people things or having them work in groups, there are resources for you out there as well. So please check that out. I have that linked. Oops, let me close that up. Okay. Um, the virtual marketplace. So this is what it looks like in structure. 4.5 billion people online as of 2020 estimated. So that is how big of an audience that you now have to reach. So if you want to think about having a niche, making yourself your audience very small, and say you want to target single mothers who are between the ages of 22 and 24, you might say, oh, that's too small. There's not enough of them. But in a marketplace of 4.5 billion people, you're probably still too broad. You probably want to even get more narrow, think about what it is that they're exactly looking for, or maybe their socioeconomic status. So you can begin searching very narrowly within that 4.5 billion people. So when you're advertising yourself and you're marketing yourself in the virtual market space, this is pretty much what you'll see all the time, is a digital marketing funnel that begins with lead generation at the top and ends with a single client at the bottom. And we start in the awareness phase. And I'm going to take you through this whole thing right now, piece by piece. So in awareness, what we're mostly looking at here are ads and content marketing. And I broke those up for you in the paid and the free. So on the left, you'll see paid, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and LinkedIn ads. Those are the most popular venues for advertising right now. And I do recommend a percentage of your marketing budget go towards ads. But I don't think that it needs to be the primary way. I don't recommend that it's the primary way that you bring in business. It's just, again, mostly for awareness and sometimes even just for testing, just to find out what people think, because there's great ways to use ads to determine if people even want your product or not. Before you invest too much time and energy in blogging about it and creating a website about it, you can actually just run an ad and see if people even care at all. Once you move into the free section, you see SEO at the top. That's going to be the best way to get people interested in you, is to be top of the search engines. And the ways that you want to do that, I think you guys are using Wix, most of you in this program. So if you notice in Wix, it has an SEO wizard, and it will do some optimization for you or help you do that optimization. But mostly, to understand it, you just need to know that it's looking for keywords. So the more you can align your business with the keywords people are searching for, the easier it is for you to show up on the search engine. Another thing you want to do is Google My Business. By putting that information in there, it immediately boosts you in the search engine rank. Even if you're not a physical business, or you want to list your virtual office like earlier, you can do that there as well, and that will help boost you up. And anybody looking to buy local can use that as well to determine where you are in the world. And lastly, hyperlinks. When you're creating your website, the more external hyperlinks you use, the more valid the Google search engine believes your business to be, and more helpful to its algorithms, and thusly the higher on the ranking you will appear. So every time that you're writing a blog, if there's information about a technique you use or a product you use, and that information comes from another site, link that site. If your product is a product made by another company, or if you use pieces from another company, any opportunity you get to put a link in there to basically make your website look like a Wikipedia page, you really want to do that. The more hyperlinks you have, the more powerful your website is in boosting your SEO. Nextly, you have cross-posting. So finding people who are tangentially related to you in your industry that can provide you with space to post. Sometimes people are in a similar vertical, but they don't have a complete vertical integration. So maybe they create the product, but they don't sell it. So blogging for them about how someone can find or evaluate a product is a great way to share some expertise on a platform that is already quite visited. So that gives you a way to quickly get your name out there. It's basically an advertisement for you. The difference is hopefully what you're advertising provides a lot of value for the individual without them having to pay if they decide not to. And you can do the same thing with people on Instagram. You see influencers doing that all the time. Send your product to somebody in the fitness industry, and they'll say they use it. That's one way to do it. And then the last one here is traditional media. So you call the newspaper and the news station and say, hey, we're a local business that's going fully virtual and we want people to know that we're open during the crisis and we're solving X problem. Is that a story you'd be interested in running? Yes or no? And then boom, you're on the nightly news. So moving down, once you have someone aware of who you are, they're going to start evaluating you. Are you better or worse than your competition? What is it you specifically have to offer? What are your values and do they align with mine? And for that, the tools that you want to use are going to be Wix, a email campaign manager like MailChimp, a social media posting manager like Hootsuite. And then I recommend a website called HubSpot. They're the people that pretty much originated the idea of inbound marketing. So if you're thinking of doing any kind of content marketing, I would recommend going to their website and you will be able to see a plethora of articles about specifically how to do content marketing very, very well. I mean, the number of ebooks they have is just phenomenal. It's all free. So if you're thinking to yourself, I just don't even know where to begin, where would I figure this stuff out? If you want to look at them as an example of how to generate interests, some of these primary tools, landing pages, ebooks, newsletters, free tools, case studies, they have all of that. And you can basically say what they've done, I want to do. And then you can go on to Upworks and say, hey, how can I have an ebook that looks like the one on HubSpot? And it's an easy way to create a task for somebody. Once you get into the decision phase, this is going to be mostly about your website. And we could talk forever about that, but just so you know, the tool you'd be wanting to use around there for decision making is the website. And then lastly, you have action, and this is when the client is ready to buy. If you're on the website, you'll have a cart, and then they'll check out from there. So mostly what I want to review for you guys here is the idea of tracking those interactions from start to finish. One of the key aspects of running a digital business is being able to collect data. Data is extremely powerful in this space because you can track every single touch point with a massive amount of precision, and that will give you such an advantage over your in-person business. If you have a brick and mortar, you don't necessarily know why someone came in that day. Maybe they were just walking by. Maybe they heard about you from a friend. Maybe they Googled you. There's no 100% way to know in that moment, but it's very possible with a digital business to go to Google Analytics, and from there, you can see where most of your sales are coming from. Where in the world are they coming from? Are they coming from a specific advertising campaign that you ran? What is it that people spent the most time on? Which page? So many options over here. Conversions from events specifically. You can look into specific audiences. It's actually overwhelming, is what it is. It's so powerful, and there are people out there that can help you with this. But I think just having basic understanding of how it works and getting that set up for yourself would be a great place to start when you're ready to start making sales. So you can see, especially if you're hearing a lot of interest or you're getting clicks on your ads and you're not getting sales, what you can really do with this is figure out where your funnel is broken. Where in this funnel here are people falling out, and how do you fix that so that you can plug that hole and people make it all the way to the bottom and to purchase. Hotjar is a really cool tool for doing exactly that, and it integrates well with Wix. If you guys don't know what it is already, basically it creates these heat maps of behavior from visitors. So as they move their cursor around, you can see where they've clicked the most. And Zapier is a really cool tool that allows you to connect your tools together. So let's say you want emails coming from clients to trigger a Dropbox action where you put that email in your sales Dropbox folder or your Google Drive folder. And then from there in Slack, it tells you, hey, you got a new email, because you're not checking your emails every 3 seconds, but you are on Slack messaging one of your employees, and then boom, it tells you, hey, you have a new lead that just popped up for you. And so you can start beginning to connect all these tools that I've been recommending to you, and build all of these automations, which is one of the keys to having a successful virtual business. All right. So lastly, we have virtual sales. Um, Virtual sales is going to be broken into two pieces. You have services and you have products. For services, this pipeline here is what I recommend you follow in order to not waste your time and ensure that you're going to be working with clients that are likely to close. So you can generate a lot of interest and awareness and give away lots of free ebooks and do lots of videos, but how does that actually convert? So what you want to do is, you'll see here you have the Facebook ads at the top here. This is your awareness and your interest in the landing page, and maybe they're evaluating you with the value video. And at about that point, the other funnel, it just says, that's action, they're ready to make a sale. But in services, you're gonna need to spend some time with them in a one-on-one kind of a way. But you don't have time for every single person who's just window shopping basically. So what you want to do is ask them to make an appointment with you, 30-minute consultation. It tells them that your time is very valuable, and it allows them an opportunity to evaluate you. Once they've agreed and they've given you their email, you don't want to just wait around until the appointment time. What you want to do is you want to send a follow-up survey that says, thank you so much, tell me more. And this is when you collect the information about them and determine if they're a legitimate lead or not. Some people won't even fill it out. Some people will fill it in lots of details. And this enables you to prioritize. So let's say you need to cancel on somebody or shift your calendar around, or maybe even just say, thank you, but we're not taking any more clients at this time. This survey will help you determine how much of value they can bring to your business. And it will help you also stay in touch with them in between the calendar appointment and the actual call that you schedule, so that they don't forget about you and kind of leave you hanging. So I definitely recommend following that pipeline there for services. And then lastly, we have products. I wish I had a little bit more time for you guys to go into this, but I'll just basically give you a quick review. Product testing is what I would recommend. If you're building a product, don't build it. Advertise it first, and then if people like it, build it. Redbubble is a way to advertise a product that doesn't exist yet. So what I did was I created these t-shirts, except for I've never created an actual t-shirt. What I did was this design in the bottom left here, I had a Upworks designer create for about $60. And then from there, I put it on this website called Redbubble, where I can put it on all sorts of models and different clothing and items. So if there's a piece of you that wants to put merch on your website to support whatever it is you're doing, or if you have an idea that you want to test out and you want to do it on a totally different product, but you just want to make sure that people like the design, you can use this website free of charge to upload your design into all of these scenes that the design is already put into. And you can see it's on these mugs and pillows and all sorts of stuff. You then take these pictures and you run a Instagram ad or a Facebook ad or LinkedIn ad or whatever it is you want to do. No, that's not loading. There it goes. And your image can be here in Instagram showcasing the product, and you can determine based on the number of clicks you get whether people are even interested in it or not at all. You don't have to say it's on sale now. You can say sign up for our pre-release or whatever it is that you'd like to do in order to just determine interest. So you haven't actually built anything. For $60, you appear to be selling an item, a physical product, but you're not actually yet. And first you're testing the market. And once you know that you've tested the market, you can go ahead and create a Wix store, which I think you guys will learn about or have already learned about. And then when you get really fancy, you can go to this place called Sunken Stone, where you'll be able to have professional support, Amazon done for you by experts. So just so you know, if you're thinking, well, how am I going to sell this stuff on Amazon? I'm never going to be able to, There are people out there specifically working to help you sell on places like Amazon. So if you've tested your product out, you're sure that it works, you're making modest sales on your website, you're ready to expand, then you can, work with a service like this, and they'll help you to put your product onto Amazon, and you can start making real big money after that. Okay, so I know it's 5:59 and I promised you guys way more time for questions, and I'm so sorry that I went over, but I am here for as long as you'd like. So if you have questions, I would love to hear them.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was definitely really helpful. I know that For everybody else right now, we are definitely in a time where we are being forced so quickly to move everything virtual. And so having all those resources was definitely probably super helpful. If anybody has the questions while somebody else is asking, feel free to put those in the chat while we wait. And yeah, we can get started on that.
So
Yeah, you guys
so I
can push
have some.
the raise hand button in the chat box if you're nervous about breaking in. No, it's fine. I didn't say anything. I should have actually. But for anybody else, like after Anthony, you're done. If you want to ask a question but you're nervous about it, then just go ahead and push the raise hand button, and I can point you out. Go ahead,
All
Anthony.
right. So the first thing I want to ask, you show us some graphics about like the percentage of people that is moving to the virtual business or
Mm-hmm.
offices and all that. Where do you get that information? I'm always concerned about where that information comes from, like how people knows that there is an increase from 60% to 100 to 125%, for example, from 2016 to now. Where do those numbers come from?
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. I took those from a remote work website that specializes in collecting that kind of information, but you can see where they get that information. And sometimes it's from the sites as reliable as the Bureau of Labor Statistics when we're talking about US numbers only. And people will, they will indicate whether their job is in person or telework or fully remote. And so then they'll just look at the trends and they'll say, in 2015, these are how many people were working in the United States, and they were in person physical versus remote. And you can then just calculate, where did the jobs go? Are they stay the same? Did they lose their job? Did they go remote? And then they just do the math from there.
Okay, thank you for that information. Another thing. Another thing is like because when you want to open a business, like physical business, I think it's easy to know like there's competition around you and everything. What about when you go to virtual? Like, how do you measure, the exact competition? Because like if I want to open a hotel in Hotel Circle, I know there is 20 hotels around me, right? But if I would like to open my virtual business, I know there is maybe 1 million because I'm like anyone can do it from anywhere,
Yeah.
So what is the difference, between those? I mean, I don't know if I ask.
No. I understand you perfectly. And there are companies that specialize in collecting that data, and you can pay for reports on it. If you want to do it for free, what you can do is you can look into keyword searches and see how many people are Googling a specific topic. If they're Googling ice cream delivery, dairy-free ice cream delivery, and then you'll know like, oh, should I start my dairy-free ice cream business and do a delivery? If there's a ton of searches for it, and then what you can do is you can basically become a customer and say, I want this product, how do I get it? And see how difficult it is to get it, how many people there are. You can even look at the price for how much people are paying to advertise based on keyword. So how fierce the competition is too. So if I were to say, I want to sell a cell phone, I guarantee you that the cost of advertising a cell phone and using those keywords is going to be massive compared to, dairy-free ice cream delivery keyword searches. So that's a good way to figure out too. I think there's probably more sophisticated ways. Like what I'm saying is probably 6 or 7 years old, and what people have done is they've created computer algorithms already. So what you might even be able to do is just go on to Google and say how competitive is this idea, or like how many businesses already do X, and then you'll see there are companies that are dedicated to collecting the data that I've just said and then parsing it and turning it into something actionable for you.
So you say then Google will be like the most accurate source to use in order to get that information, or there isn't like in a specific business that will, a website like Wix, right? If you want to create your website or something, there's a specific website that will help you, or company, online business that will help you to put you like in the right path.
Yeah, I am saying that if you want to do it manually yourself, I think you can use Google. And I'm saying I don't know for sure, and I can definitely look it up if you guys are if more people are interested in like exploring the idea of competitive analysis in digital businesses. We could have a whole session on that. But my guess is that if you Google around for a business that will help you do a competitive analysis, you'll find that there are people who are already doing that, and you can probably get reports from them, maybe even for free.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Anybody else? Questions? I see Gabriel Fizz. Is this a good time to start a drop shipping business? Yes and no, Gabriel, or because there is going to be a lot of competition for anything that's pre-manufactured, and the source of the manufacturer is going to become extremely unstable. A lot of these people are getting their goods from China, and whether those factories are open or going to stay open, or the US is going to continue to do business with them, I don't know. When you do drop shipping, you leave the manufacturing in the hands of the drop shipping company. What I would say is it's a great time to use drop shipping to test your business idea. So like I did with Redbubble, which is a drop shipper, I would recommend that you find a design or a product that you're interested in testing out and use them to advertise what you want to sell, and then determine interest based on the response to your advertisements. Once you know that, you can justify to a bank, an investor, or just to yourself spending the capital to find a manufacturer for yourself. And then you can control your supply a little bit more powerfully. You also give yourself the opportunity to create something unique, because as a drop shipper, I'm only creating specific items I know are in high demand already. So I'm not going to be creating one-off items. And so if you have something, really original you want to make, or you want to differentiate yourself in the market, then I would recommend trying to create something that a drop shipper is not creating. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. D'Anthony, do you offer one-on-one meetings on showing how to use the variety of tools and resources? Yes, totally. Let's see here. I can give you my website, and you can do exactly what I recommended on in my presentation. So you can set up a meeting with me and we will have a consultation. Do I own my own virtual company? Lawrence, yes, I do. I have a consulting business where I help people do pretty much exactly this. And then I also almost had that drop shipping company that I showed you earlier with the design of the Pokemon doing the Olympic sport. So I had an idea for a full t-shirt series, and I followed it all the way through to the point where I had 20 t-shirts and we were ready to go, and then the virus hit, and so I don't have that virtual business anymore for the most part. It's pretty much dead. But I do still do consulting work, yes. Let's see. Right, I don't see any other questions on here.
I think there's one from Megan that
Okay.
says, what do you think the best way would be to convert a business that is dependent on services? She gave an example for herself. I own a salon and I'm struggling with virtual transitioning.
Right. Yeah, that's real tough because you have to come into physical contact with people. And I guess what I would say is, if you look at the rules about social distancing, it's not saying that you can't meet with people. It's just saying you have to keep your meetings down to a minimum, and that you might want to wear some protective equipment or wash up, which I'm sure you already do. So as a salon, I think what you really need to focus on is maybe the physical space where you do your work, and the way that you market and advertise yourself. So if you don't already, you would probably want to switch to appointment only. And then from there, you could look at either being mobile, coming to clients, or you could even think about relocating. And I know that might be a little bit scary for you, but if we're entering a new digital world where physical storefront space, walkability is not a viable metric upon which to judge the value of the rent you're paying, basically, then I would say it's possible that you might think about doing it in home. I know that there's a piece of that that might feel a little unprofessional, and it's possible that clients might reject that. So you are in a pretty new space here. I don't have any direct experience with this, so I don't want to lead you in the wrong direction. But I guess what I'm basically saying is I don't think if you're paying a high rent to be in a trendy downtown area, it's going to be worth it anymore. So I would look at cutting costs there in some way, shape, or form, and putting that money into advertising yourself online, and getting people coming in. What you can also do to bring people in as a salon is to switch from offering the services to do it for them to a educational or consultation model where you teach them to do it for themselves. So doing blogs about tools that you'd recommend, doing videos about how to style for themselves, those kinds of things. Because there will be a percentage of people that just don't want to come out and go to you no matter what. So you can begin by educating them, videos, and from there you can use those people to promote your business for the ones that do want to come. And then you can increase your price a little bit, and do appointment only. And then that might be some moves you could make, but I think you'd have to watch the news closely to see exactly what the rules are going to be about that. I'm sorry, I wish I could be more helpful. Marciela, yeah, I put my link in. Oops, I think I just replied to one person. That was silly. Here you go. Okay, that's my link for private consulting, and happy to work with you guys for about half hour, free of charge, just to get to know your business and give you some tips. And then, if you're interested in going further, we could definitely do that. Do we have any other questions? I know we're way over time here, so I understand. But yeah, anything you'd like to know. And if you're interested in another session on any of this, please let me or Lisa or Tanya know. You can share in the Slack. Get in touch with us in any way, shape, or form. I'm happy to do a deeper dive on any one of these topics. We could go on for days about any one of those slides. So just let me know, and I'll come back next week and we can talk more. Thanks, D'Anthony. I appreciate it. Thanks, Haley. I'm glad you showed up. I don't need to tell you guys much, though. I feel like some of what I was saying, I was like, oh, I think I got that from you.
Thank you so much again, Nick, for taking the time and being able to present with us. I did put Nick's contact for LinkedIn on the chat as well. I'm sure that he's more than happy to connect with you guys. And that's a great source for you guys to reach out to him as well, and also expand your network too, as people see you connected with more members of the rec. And I know Nick has a great network as well. And so, yeah, thank you so much again. And if you guys need help with, reaching out again to ask Nick any questions or set anything up, contact any of us. And also, like he said, to do more workshops like this. I know it was extremely helpful to myself as well. And we really appreciate you guys all tuning in. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. If there aren't any more questions, I think I'm going to log off. But like Lisa said, we're around. So just let us know. We're happy to come back.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.